Can you build online courses without installing a full LMS plugin like LearnDash or TutorLMS? And the answer is yes. And in fact, you can do it pretty much using built-in functionality that's inside of WordPress. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And actually, in a lot of ways, it's a lot simpler this way. And I'll show you why that is. Hey there, David Risley here with Blog Marketing Academy. So let's talk about how to create online courses on your site without installing an LMS or learning management system plugin like LearnDash or TutorLMS or one of these things. First of all, why might you want to even consider doing this? Well, one thing is just to reduce the number of plugins that you're using. Obviously less plugins the better and the faster your site's going to operate. It also can save you some money because then you don't have to go out there and purchase a LMS. LearnDash isn't exactly cheap, right? The second thing is that what I find when I build a lot of membership sites for clients is that a lot of people don't use even a fraction of the functionality that an LMS plugin puts in there. Some people use the progress tracking, but there's the quizzes and the assignments and grades and all the things that these LMS plugins do, like you're running a full online school. And they don't even use that stuff. So what they're basically doing is using something like LearnDash and all that it has just to organize some videos under the heading of a course. And that's it. They're basically using it for organizational purposes. And that's all there is to it. So there's just the bloat factor that we can potentially get rid of. The other thing here is that sometimes when you use these LMS plugins like LearnDash, they actually almost make it more complicated to create the course. And I'll give you an example. These days, I call it content inflation. I think that there's so many online courses out there these days that the idea of a big honker course out there that's just got multiple modules and has hours and hours of video, I don't think people value them like they used to. I just think those days are over. There's just so much stuff out there already. I'm a big believer in having courses that are much more to the point and shorter. And in fact, some of the best trainings these days are just one single page. You might put a video on that page, you might put some text, you might have a couple of PDF downloads or something like that, but it can fit on one page. Now, here's the thing. When you have something like LearnDash, you literally cannot create a course like that. It's not built for one page courses. The only way that I'm familiar with off the top of my head to do that with LearnDash is using some add-on plugin from Uncanny Owl. There might be some other ways, but it's just like, it's kind of overkill, okay? So what if you just want to have a library of training courses, small courses, courses that are really to the point, and you want to create this library, you want to put them onto your membership site. You don't need assignments, you don't need the quiz functionality, you don't need all the fancy pants stuff, you just need a simple online course setup. That's what you can do without using an LMS. Okay, so how this works is actually very simple. What we're going to all do here is create something called a custom post type inside of WordPress, okay? WordPress is way more flexible than it looks when you first install it. By default, it has two post types. It's got posts and it's got pages, right? Thing is, you can create as many of them as you want, name them anything you want. It's just a lot of people don't know they can do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom post type, and we're going to create, if you want, you can create what's called a custom taxonomy. So that's basically a custom category structure if you want to give your course library some categories. And if you can also create custom fields on this stuff if you need to. Not everybody needs custom fields. And we're going to do all of this with a plugin called Advanced Custom Fields. You may have heard of it. A lot of people call it ACF. All right. So Advanced Custom Fields has a free version, which is probably going to be enough for you. It also has a pro version. What you're mainly going to get with the pro version are some new field types. Okay. And you may find them useful. I personally use one called the repeater field for various purposes. It's a pretty cool thing. I'm not going to get into that in this particular video, so you can look into it, and if you think you need the pro version, go ahead and grab yourself Advanced Custom Fields Pro. But for a basic LMS, well, not an LMS, basic online course setup that we're going to put together, the free version of Advanced Custom Fields will work just fine. Let's go to screen and let's quickly build something. Okay, so I'm inside of a platform called InstaWP. You don't need to know this part, but I use this for testing. It does quick installs of WordPress and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and quickly create a WordPress site. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do a magic login into it. Okay, so what we got here is a default brand new installation of WordPress. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to install advanced custom fields. Let's go ahead and search for that here. Okay, there it is. Let's go ahead and install it. Now, of course, this is the free version, not the pro version. If you want the pro version, you're going to have to go out there and grab it. All right, let's go ahead and activate this. And now you'll see we have a menu option called ACF for Advanced Custom Fields. Now, this plugin does a few different things. We can create custom fields under the word field groups. You can also do post types and what's called taxonomy. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a custom post type. We're going to add our first post type. Let's go ahead and call this bad boy trainings, okay? Now, the only reason I'm not calling it courses is because I don't want to have any confusion with regard to the fact that you might have a course and you got modules and lessons, kind of similar to what you have with LearnDash, okay? But being that I want to be able to have flexibility to either create a course that has multiple sections or just a single one-page dealio, I thought we would just call it trainings and you can figure it out from there. Okay, so the plural label is going to be trainings. Obviously, the singular will just be training. That would work just fine. Again, you can name these anything you want. It doesn't really matter. The post type key is going to be automatically generated. I usually just leave it the way that it is. The taxonomy, we haven't created one yet, but if we wanted to, use one of the ones that already exist, like your existing categories and tags, you could do that. But for now, we'll leave it blank. We're going to leave it to public because this is obviously going to be a public post type. This one's important. We want to go ahead and click this little toggle to make it hierarchical. That means that we'll be able to create trainings that nest underneath under trainings, okay? Other trainings. So that's how we can create a course that has a few different videos and we can build them together like that. Now, under advanced configuration, I usually go in and click this toggle. And the ones that we wanted to support, obviously, the title, the main editor, feature image. If you're going to have other authors besides yourself, you might want to go ahead and check this box for author. I like to have the excerpt field show up so that I can use it as a course summary, like a short description of the course. Custom fields, especially if you're going to use any custom fields, that's a good one. If you want to have comments turned on by default, go ahead and have those comments show up if you want people to be able to, comment on your courses. These other ones, it's up to you. Revisions is just that, do you want WordPress in the background saving your revisions so that you can revert? It's totally up to you. Generally, you're not going to need post formats, trackbacks, and the page attributes, but it's totally up to you how you want to handle this. You can give it a description if you please. Under labels, you can change some of the verbiage that's going to show up in your menu inside of WordPress admin. Visibility, I usually just leave all this stuff as default, but you can always go back and edit this stuff later, so nothing's set in stone. Okay, so with that being said, and with these things turned on, we are going to save changes. Okay, now you can see that we have a new menu option called trainings, and there's nothing in there right now. We're going to have to create them. If we go to add new right now, what you're going to find is that we have a standard setup for creating content just like you would for a page or a post. And this is going to be the block editor. And essentially anything that you can do with the block editor, you'd be able to do inside of one of your trainings. That includes putting videos in there, text, links, like anything you could do with the block builder, you'll be able to do here. So it's incredibly flexible. Okay. Now, when you go over here, you'll see that we've got feature image turned on. We've got the excerpt turned on. These are all the things that we just checked off inside of advanced custom fields. Okay. So you can totally set all that stuff. Now, what we're going to do real quick, let's go ahead and create a taxonomy, and so you can see how that actually works. So let's go over to taxonomies. Now, essentially, this is a category structure, just like categories or tags for blog posts. So if you wanted, and it's completely optional, to create a category structure for courses, you could do so, especially if you're thinking that you're going to have a large training library over time, and you might want people to be able to filter by them and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and say training categories, real general name. Again, you can call these anything you want. The singular version, let's make that. I'll just let the key auto-generate. The post types, being that we've already created our training post type, we'll just go ahead and assign it right then and there, okay? You can make it hierarchical if you want. That just gives you the ability to do subcategories, completely up to you. There's not as many options under advanced settings for taxonomies. You probably will not need them, okay? But it's up to you. You can go through those things. So let's go ahead and save changes. Okay, well, it's already assigned because we just did it. And so now when we go back to trainings, you'll see that we now have a category structure for training categories. And we can go ahead and create our course categories and go from there. At this point, most of the plumbing is now in place. It's really as simple as that. Now, obviously, Advanced Custom Fields is really well known for custom fields. And so if you really want to like personalize and really build something much fancier with this setup that we just did, you can now go and add custom fields to this new custom post type and make it as interesting as you want. Whatever custom fields that you might want, you could do. For example, if you want to have fields for PDF downloads or a link to a transcript, or stuff like that, you can create custom fields for that. Now, you just got to keep in mind that any custom fields that you create, you're going to need to do a little bit of extra stuff in order to build it into your theme so that those custom fields actually show up on the front end. How you actually do that is going to vary very much based on how your site is built, okay? I'll address that real briefly in just a minute. So at this point, in order to kind of figure out how it's going to look on the front end, you got to have something to work with. So just go ahead and enter a course, okay? Now, it could be a real course that you already have, or just kind of enter some bogus content, just so you have something in the system that we can go and show inside of our template and kind of make sure that the course setup is going to work okay. Because we do need to build a section into our theme that's actually going to display this custom post type, okay? Otherwise, it's going to look pretty much exactly like pages, and you probably want them to look a little bit different. Okay, so I quickly entered a beautiful sample course, as it says. If you open that bad boy up, you'll see that I've just created a title. I embedded one of my public YouTube videos, but if this was a real course, I'd probably have a better video, and it would be over on Vimeo, probably not on actual YouTube. And then I've got some sample text here. So if this was, again, a real course, it'd have a more developed video, more developed text. I'd probably link off or embed a PDF file. It'd be obviously way more complete. But when you publish that, you're able to then see what it's going to look like on the front end. Now, again, this is a default simplistic installation of WordPress right now, and so it's using the default 2023 theme. There's no styling here whatsoever at this particular point. So it's real simple, but it does show that this is going to basically use your page template by default. Now, if you want your courses to look different than that, you're obviously going to need to create a custom post type template using whatever setup your site is built with. Now, obviously, every site is built differently. These days, I'm pretty much using Cadence themes and Cadence blocks to build most of my sites. So I want to just quickly provide a quick starter on how to sort of get going on creating a custom post template with Cadence. So you'll see, well, first of all, under Appearance, I've actually installed the Cadence theme, and I went ahead and installed the pro versions of both Cadence blocks and Cadence theme. What you're going to want to do here for Cadence is you're going to want to make sure you use this thing here called Hooked Elements. This is going to allow you to create basically custom templates and hook them into various things. So let's go ahead and enable that bad boy. And then what we're going to do, let's go and refresh that. So we get the elements. There's elements. Let's go ahead and create one here. All right. We're going to create a template. We can call this course template. Basically, we could build anything that we want in here using the block builder, okay? I'm not going to get into that because it's kind of beyond the scope of this particular thing here. But when you go over to, I think it's here under placement, this is where you can actually assign where this thing is going to show up, okay? So we're going to go in and I think it's under, let's see, replace single post content. Let me see, show on. We want to make sure we show it on our custom post type. Under here, single trainings, we'll select it on all of them. We can have, assign it to particular users, but it's obviously going to apply to everybody. And to my knowledge, this is how it's going to work. You're basically setting display rules and saying where you want to place it to apply it to. We're going to apply it to all of our single trainings. and obviously to everybody. And then whatever I build here inside this builder would become the template for that particular custom post type. That's how you want it to work. And so as you're actually building this, you'd be able to set it up the way that you want it to work. And it's really, really handy here how this actually comes together. Okay. Now, what it's like creating that custom post template is obviously going to vary based on how your site is built. That's why I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about that in this video. What I just showed you is with Cadence, and I'm not going to get into the full build up, but that's how to do it. If you were using something like Elementor Pro, you could use the built-in theme builder with Elementor, and you just design your own template to override whatever theme you're using right now. And then using the display rules for that thing, you just say, show it up for all of my trainings using that custom post type, and basically you can use Elementor to build your template for this, pretty much regardless of whatever theme that you're using. If you're using another block-based builder like Astra or something like that, it's going to work pretty similarly to Cadence in terms of building a custom template and using basically display rules and saying, where do you want this thing to show up? And so that's a pretty common theme that you can use, and that's how you're going to design this course template. Now, again, if you have any custom fields, you're going to need to make use of the custom. Most of these builders, they have ways of inserting dynamic text from custom fields, so I'll leave that to you to research. I've got a few links on the post itself that can help you with that, to use those custom fields. And then lastly, just a quick word is that if your courses are going to have multiple parts where you're going to kind of nest things together, you do need to display those subpages on there so that, you've got the one course and then it displays the subpages essentially, so it displays the sections of that course so they can click onto that and move forward with it. And you might want to put breadcrumbs in there so people can navigate, through the different parts of the course and stuff like that. It could take a little bit of trial and error to get the course to look the way that you want, but that's essentially how it comes together, okay? Okay, so that's pretty much the broad overview of how to do this. You're basically setting up your own online course library without using a full learning management system like LearnDash. Now, keep in mind, obviously, there's limits to this. You're essentially just using a custom post type, and it's a display-only thing. So if progress tracking is important to you, you're going to need to either not have it, or you're going to need to devise some other way to do it. There are some plugins out there for them. Like there's one called WP Complete. Frankly, it seems kind of unsupported now, and so I'm not going to recommend it to you, but there might be some other options out there. If you did need quizzes, you could still build them manually using something like Fluent Forms and basically just use a form builder and do it. You don't really need something like LearnDash. Assignments, well, you're not going to have them. And that's the thing. If you need those types of functions, get yourself an LMS. That's what they're there for. But if you just want something that's kind of simple, then what I just showed you will work. Now, I will say, this is not supposed to be a tutorial that shows the full build out of the entire site because, again, the theme portion of implementing this stuff varies a lot depending on how your site is built. So what I will say is that if you would like my help to implement that part of it for you, just get in touch with me and I can help you do it. Okay, I can help you build the theme part of it so that your courses will actually look fine on the front end of your site. That way you won't have to deal with it yourself. All right, that's something that I do a fair amount, but that's basically the gist of it, and it might be all that you need for all your online courses, especially if you're going to keep them short and sweet because you don't want to overwhelm people. If you're running a membership site where you're promising that you're going to be creating training for them on a pretty regular basis and creating a larger library, short and sweet is probably a pretty good way to go. It's not only easier to digest for them, but it's easier for you to create it too. And these little one-page training courses, the setup that I just showed you how to build is pretty much the best way to do it. You just don't need an LMS plugin. And, this is something that I've now done for a few different clients, and it works out pretty well. If you have any questions at all, let me know. I'll be happy to answer you. Just go below and ask. And other than that, I will talk to you later.